hit him with the comparison. You say like us versus them. Remember, that's also a key one, Liv. It's like us versus them. Who would you choose if we were the same price? Us or them? And he's going to say you because he's still on the call with you.
What
Does
if he
that make?
says, I'm not sure?
Well, then you say,
So this week, I've had two calls where both of them, they were interested, but they have gotten some better offers, I guess, from other agencies. So one, she just had a better offer. I don't know if she lied or not, but the second one was today. He was legit about it. So he has worked with another agency from January to March, and he was only paying them like 55 Australian dollars per new client. We were pitching him 135, so huge difference. So that was like what stopped him from moving forward. He was really interested though, like he liked what I was saying and everything, but just because of that, he of course wasn't sure about it. We have a call on Monday, but I don't think he's gonna go ahead just because of that huge difference on this. I can nearly match it, I guess. So I don't know if you can even help with that, but maybe.
the first thing I'd say to that is if someone joins the call, there's like a level of interest there. So you know how you said, I'm not sure if he's going to go for it. We have a call on Monday, all that kind of stuff. If he shows up on the call, right? I've never had someone show up that has zero intention of buying. Let me flip this for you. Video settings.
I think it's good.
Can you read this now, or was it
Yep.
better before?
Nah, I think it's the same, but it's good. Like I can read it.
You could, okay. Okay. So, first of all, if someone shows up, there is still a percentage like chance that you can like actually close them. That's the first thing I always say to everyone. The second thing is you're here at $135, right? And what's your competition charging? 55?
Yep.
Okay. This is like an extreme difference. So what I normally say to people is like, it's pretty easy to differentiate yourself and your business when you have like a 20% difference. You know, it's like if someone charges $100 and you charge $120, like that's a pretty easy situation to overcome because you just play on factors of leverage and you say, we have more social proof, we have this, we have that. And then what you can do very easily is you can say like, yes, you are going to be spending an extra $20, but if we get you an extra 50% more results, then this doesn't really matter. Okay, so there it's quite easy. The issue you have is like this is like a huge gap. That's like more than double, right? And so what I would say is like why do some cars cost double than what other cars cost? Like, why does a Mercedes cost 50,000 and a Toyota costs 25? They do exactly the same thing logically, like they get you from point A to B. It's just one of them is a demonstration of resources. Like, look, I can afford the Mercedes, and it has extra comforts. Extra comforts, it has seat warmers, it has all this kind of stuff, right? So it's like there's extra things, but ultimately they do the same thing. If you can figure out what things this agency doesn't give them, and then if you can provide those three things, if you can first figure those out, and then you can make those seem very valuable, then you can justify the difference in price. And so a trick you can do there is you can say to them, be honest with me, Mr. Prospect. If us and the other agency were priced exactly the same way, who would you go with? So that's the first question you can ask them. And oftentimes, if he's on the sales call with you, think about it again logically, Liv. He's got an offer for less than half of the money than what you're offering him. He would have just gone for it if he was 100% interested in them. What he's secretly hoping is that he can rationalize and justify choosing you. He logically can't because the price is way too high, but he's hoping something can justify it. Either it's something you say, or it's just if you come down in price or whatever it is. Okay. So if you say to him, like, who would you choose between the two of us? he's probably going to say you, right? Well, he is going to say you because otherwise he wouldn't be on the call with you. And then the key question is you say, why then? Why, if we were priced the same way, why would you choose us? And what he's going to do is he's going to list out all of the things that he likes about you. And then your job as well, like I mentioned before, is just to figure out the things that the other agency doesn't provide that you provide. Okay? Once you've got that picture built there, you can start to play on those things and you can start to say to them, interesting. So we do X, Y, and Z, which you really like, right? And then you can start saying, questions like, well, what is that worth to you? Like if he says, for example, do you have any idea, Liv, of the things that he likes about you guys? Did he mention anything?
No, he didn't really mention anything specific. I don't think so. But I think what he liked was how confident I was about the product. But yeah, I don't know, because he also said to him it sounds pretty much the same as the other agency, but they're just charging so much less. So yeah, he was kind of trying to justify it, but of course he couldn't really find a reason to do that, and that's my job to come up with, of course. But yeah, I don't know how to do that.
So he trusts you more, right? Because otherwise he would have just chosen the other agency. He trusts that you can deliver the results for him. The only issue he has is how much it costs. What you can start to do there's lots of ways you can do this, but what you can start to do is say to him, is it like financially viable to pay $135 per lead in his case? Does that make sense for him?
Yes, it does, but I don't think he thinks it makes sense. He was like, I think it's fair to pay 55, not really more. So I guess he would pay more. Maybe not 135, but yeah.
Well, do you have a minimum amount you would charge him?
Yeah, I could go down.
To 100?
Yeah, I'm thinking so. What is that in US dollars? Yeah, it's quite low. It's 65 US dollars, but
Wait, so is this in US or Australian?
Australian.
Okay. And the other company is 55 Australian dollars. That's
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
okay. Anyway, what you want to figure out is your floor. So your floor is like your minimum amount that you would charge. Let's just say it's 60 US dollars. Okay. Key point in the negotiation, Liv, you never reveal your floor unless you absolutely have to. So that's like point number one, is you never reveal this to him. And you don't reveal the fact that you have lots of flexibility in terms of like reducing the price. You don't want to reveal that to him. Okay. What you want to do going back here is he trusts you more, right? And ultimately, what you're selling him are leads. And what's the most important part about a lead, Liv?
I don't know what you're referring to, but
That is
converting them?
qualified
Yeah.
and converts, right?
Yeah.
So a lead has to be qualified and it has to convert. Well, it has to have a good chance of converting, right? And believe me, if he's on the call with you, I repeat this because it's so important, but it's going to give you confidence, right? If he's on the call with you, it's because he believes that your leads are better, that your leads will be more qualified, and that they have a higher chance of converting. And all you have to do is get him to say that. That's why we do this technique here. Say, why would you choose us? And he'll start listing out reasons. And essentially, you've got to get him to say, no, I trust you guys to deliver the results more, but I'm just not okay with the price. And then you can logically break that down and you can say to him, so Mr. Prospect, do you think it's possible for like the other agency to actually deliver you good leads at $55 each? No one does it that cheap, and there's a reason for that. It's not because we're all greedy business owners, it's because it takes a lot of time and effort and resources and energy to master the skill of lead generation and then also perform it on an active basis for our clients. And we believe, just like I'm sure you believe as well as a business owner, it's like there's a fair price to pay for good things. Am I right? And so you build up this picture, this image of good things come at a price, right? What I like to do is compare with products. It's like I say to people sometimes, have you ever bought like a cheap accessory or a cheap thing? You put it in your house and then it breaks or you don't use it, whatever. It's like good things do cost some money because the people behind it have taken time and effort and energy and skill to craft them, right? And so eventually what you're going to do is you're going to get him to say, oh, yeah, actually, Liv, you're 100% right, but I still don't. It's just the price is too expensive. That's good. Once you get to that point, once you get him to verbalize all of these things, and you get him to say that he has more confidence and trust in you, and you get him to understand that things have a, valuable things have a price. Once you get him to do that, there's one key thing you can do. And this one I love doing. Hypothetical plus a concession. So what does this mean? First, you say to him, so look, respect, hypothetically, right? And I'm not even sure if I have the authority or capabilities to do this, but hypothetically, if we were maybe able to come down on the price a little bit, would that be enough for us to seal the deal here? And if he has said all of these things about you, it's very difficult for him to say no. What other reason could he have to say no? It's like you've got the verbal tie down. You understand the concepts of tie downs, right? It's like you've got the tie down, and the only thing he can say there is, well, yeah, actually, yeah. I mean, it's just if you're able to come down on the price a little bit, that would work for me. And then you come to a concession, and that's kind of like, okay, look, on my end, what I can do is this, so that for you it makes sense. Here's my offer. Is that fair enough? And that's, if you want to write it down, it's like fair enough is like the key word. It's like, is that fair enough? It's like a really low pressure way of getting them to agree with what you're suggesting, with what you're basically negotiating for. And so that's the way I would approach it, Liv, is first of all, I'll let you finish your notes.
Yep.
First of all, mindset wise, you should be confident. You should be feeling good. It shows that you're a good saleswoman. It's double the price, but he's still talking to you. So you should be very confident. That's very good. And then you just got to break it down step by step. Get him to verbalize why he would choose you, why he has confidence in you, why he trusts you more, all that kind of stuff. And then also get him to understand that good things come at a price. Nothing good comes cheap. You could literally say that to him. You could say, Mr. Prospect, would you agree with me that like there's no such thing as a free lunch? I like to use that line sometimes. I like you know the rule, right? Like the law of humans, like there's no such thing as a free lunch. Like cheap things end up having a bigger cost than fairly priced things, right? You get him to agree, and then I love this is the best one. It's the hypothetical because this diffuses them. You say, I'm not sure if I can do this, but just let's imagine that we could come down on the price to somewhere that's fair. Would that help us make a deal here? You get them to verbalize another tie down. And then from there, you come to a concession and you're like, what we can do on our end in order to make it more approachable and palatable for you, but it's always in their benefit, in their interest, is we can come down to $80 per lead. And then a trick, Liv, by the way, is if your floor is $60, okay, if that's your floor, the first thing you suggest is maybe 70, because a lot of people like to have the last say in negotiations. They want to feel like they're in control. They want to feel like they sealed the deal. A lot of people will go, meet me in the middle at 60. And you're like, okay, would that help us make the deal? Bang. Because they want to feel like they had the last word. Okay. So when you're suggesting your price, look at your floor. It depends on the context, right? But look at your floor and just add a little bit on top, but not too much so it's crazy. You don't want to do this, okay? You don't want to say my floor is 100 and then go down to 60 because that seems almost unbelievable. That makes you seem very weak, okay? So it's just you take your floor and you add a little margin to it.
Okay.
That's the best way I can think. That's how I've done a lot of negotiations. I don't believe in the whole you have a fixed price and you only charge the price. I don't believe in that. I believe it's good to negotiate with people. I've done a lot of negotiations, and that's kind of what I always do. The key part is here, by the way, is getting them to verbalize it.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. a little bit afraid I won't be able to make him verbalize it in a good enough way, because he has worked with this other agency before. So that's the thing. He has worked with them and they got him really good results. Like,
Yeah, but then
so
you just got to say to him like, so Mr. Prospect, and say it out loud. You'd be like, so you've worked with this agency before. They're giving you or offering you a better price, but we're still here on this call. There must be a reason for that, right? And he's gonna go, well, yeah, 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 and he's just gonna tell you, and then you say, hit him with the comparison. You say like us versus them. Remember, that's also a key one. It's like us versus them. Who would you choose if we were the same price? Us or them? And he's going to say you because he's still on the call with you.
What if he says, I'm not sure?
Well, then you say, well, Mr. Prospects, that's something you need to decide in your own time. But once you've come to the decision, feel free to reach out and we can jump on another call. That moment right there, Liv, the power dynamic shifts. The power goes completely in your favor. When you show someone you don't care about the outcome of the call, it flips and now you're in control.
Yeah, that makes really good sense. I actually did try to do that today. Like what you just said about figuring out why he was exploring this option then, when he's got such a good option with the other agency. And he was just like, yeah, it's because the owner or the founder of the clinic saw your ad and just wanted to hear what it's all about. So I couldn't really get it out of him, but maybe I can try again on Monday.
Just ask.
Yeah.
And never be afraid, because if you're afraid, you're going to lose the sale anyway. So never be afraid to just ask people a question. And it's logical. Why would they be there if they're not interested?
Yeah, that's true. Okay. It actually, I think it goes pretty well hand in hand with my second question. I only have two, at least right now, but
okay.
I don't know how to stand out enough. Like, when people are comparing us to other agencies and people that they've talked with or worked with, it's just like it ends up sounding a lot like everyone else. And I don't want that, obviously.
Okay. So this is referring to your pitch, right? You got to realize something. Your pitch is useless without a good discovery phase. That's point number one, okay?
Yeah.
I like to say this. If your pitch is a Ferrari, the discovery phase is the fuel that goes in it.
Okay.
It won't work without the fuel. Okay. Now, Liv, I'll tell you, we'll go back to a question, but I'll tell you another thing about your pitch. Most people pitch like this. There's key features to the product, for example. That's how most people pitch. And then what they do is they package it all up into a pitch like this. And then what they do is they Command C, Command V. They copy paste, copy paste, copy paste. What I mean by that is they package up their product into a pitch, and then they always deliver the same pitch to every prospect. Copy paste, copy paste, copy paste. Okay? This is how I want you to think about your pitch, okay? Have you ever had a piece of clothing tailor-made for a certain special occasion?
Yes, kind of, yeah.
Like a dress?
Yeah.
Was it expensive?
A little bit.
Did you go to a store where they measured you up, and then how did it work?
I can't remember. Yes, I think we did. Yeah.
Okay, so it's like, have you ever been to Italy?
Yes.
Have you ever been to like a small store in Italy where it's like it's obvious that the owner of the store is working in the store and he tries to sell you something?
Unfortunately not. No.
Okay, so that's the example I like to use, and I can build the picture for you. It's like if you go to a store in Italy, like a clothing store where they measure you up and they make you a custom shirt, all this kind of, and like a custom suit. What they do is they have a wide range of fabrics and sort of things they can give you, but they piece them together in a way that's special for you. So it's like if what you care about is having a shirt that's nice and open and breathing and relaxed, fitting, all this kind of stuff, they're going to build something that's perfect for you. They're not going to tell you about the materials that make it nice and tightly fitting or whatever. If it's important for you that it's breathable, they're going to emphasize on those aspects right there. This is a breathable fabric, so when you're out in the sun, you still feel good and refreshed, all this kind of stuff. They're not going to tell you about how eco-friendly the fabric is, for example. If you walk in there and they ask you some questions and they realize you're a huge environmentalist, they're going to tell you how they source the materials. You understand what I'm saying, right? They always tell you what you want to hear, basically. And so the thing with your pitches, when we're selling online products and services, it's like you can't really change what you're selling because it all fits in together. It's like you do the Facebook ads and then you have the go high level and then you have all of this kind of stuff, right? What you need to do with your pitch, however, Liv, is try and tailor each of these things to something that they said to you earlier on. So if they said to you earlier on, yeah, I just really hate picking up the phone and booking appointments. Or for example, they said, I really hate having to answer people's messages, especially the initial ones, whatever. You hone in on that on your pitch and you say, do you remember earlier on how you mentioned you hate doing this? Well, phase number two, pillar number two of our service is we do X, Y, Z so that your leads are automatically qualified, blah, 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 and you tailor it just to their thing. You don't just run through the presentation as standard. If they told you they tried Facebook ads with a different agency, and for example, if this one is Facebook ads, okay? Facebook ads. If they told you they tried Facebook ads with a different agency and they said it didn't work, whatever, you say, you remember earlier on how you mentioned you tried Facebook ads with a different agency and it didn't work, and these are the reasons why it didn't work? Well, here's what we do. And you talk 5 minutes about why you're so good at Facebook ads. If someone doesn't care about Facebook ads and they just care about having the calling scripts and all that kind of stuff, focus more on that. Spend 20 seconds on the Facebook ads, just mentioning it because it's a factor of leverage, of value, but skim over it. They don't care. Go to the thing they care about. And so that's how you differentiate yourself. Point number one is you focus on what they care about, because people are so used to just being pitched things in general. Like, here's our product. A, B, C, X, Y, Z, you put it all together, you get good results. But people, I always say, you got to give people what they want. Not every prospect wants the same thing. It doesn't matter, Liv, by the way. It doesn't matter if ultimately your service delivery is the same, because you can't run successful ads by skipping over point number one, right? That wouldn't work, would it? Okay. But you don't have to mention it as much. You mention the thing that they care about. If the prospect kept saying, oh, we're when we get clients, like they're happy, but I can't get them to come back. Then you mention pillar number 4 of your pitch, point number 4, which is how do we get people coming back, all that kind of stuff, because they mentioned that's a pain point and it's one of their desires. And you focus a lot on that. And the key point here again, Liv, is you say, remember earlier on how you told me, or do you remember what we spoke about in terms of, or remember how you said you had that experience of XYZ, okay? Then another point, that's like you tailor it to them. Another point is you want to create like a you versus the market scenario, okay? Now, a lot of people will tell you not to do this. A lot of people will say, just focus on your own agency. Don't talk badly about others. Wrong, okay? Sales is all about making people choose you over someone else. And so what you want to do is shit on the market. So for example, is there a certain aspect of your offer, Liv, or your product, right? Is there a certain aspect that you think is really good that a lot of other agencies don't do?
Yes, there is. We're actually doing a little bit, I guess, about what you're talking about here. I can show you real quick. I feel like, especially the qualification that we do and just the partnership in general is so much more valuable than any other agencies. Like, because we want to be their partner and not just doing their ads, we really want to help them all the way through. And yeah, just make them really successful. So I do this on in the pitch, and then say like, hey, this is what most marketing agencies unfortunately do. They put up ads. This is without any targeting, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Here's what we do differently.
Good.
And it's, yeah.
So what you're doing there is, hang on. What you're doing there is, that's so funny. Did you make that?
No.
I just watched a YouTube video where the guy shows an example of his pitch and it looks exactly like that.
Who was that?
I can't remember. You tell me who it was. Do you remember?
Yeah, Matt Shields.
Yeah, it's Max Shields.
Yeah.
You should be careful with Max Shields, by the way. He's been exposed quite a lot.
But what?
He's been exposed for having lots of fake testimonials and doing some shady things. So I just warning with
Oh,
Matt Shields. He's great. I'm sure he makes a lot of money, but he's been exposed quite a little bit. Okay, anyway, it's not my problem. He's a very good agency business owner, so that's fine. Here is what you want to do, right? This is like a formula. This is in my sales mastery. It's like how to write your pitch. This is a formula. It's like a framework you can use to deliver the points in your pitch. And this is probably the best one for what you're referring to. It's like you say the typical market mistake, the problem that causes, the reason why that problem is a problem. So it's like the ultimate sort of pain it creates. And then you give your feature, you inverse the problem into a benefit, say, we don't do that, and then you benefit link. So it's like, it's pretty much what you just said. It's like the biggest, area coaches and consultants typically trip up on is the biggest area other agencies typically make the fatal mistake is the reason why that's a problem. And what happens as a result of that problem is that. So this is like another way you can differentiate yourself, and you absolutely want to tie this in, especially, by the way, this is why a saturated niche is not a problem. You want to tie this in, especially when they've said to you, we've worked with another agency in the past, and you can start to gather information about what happened. And then if you do both, you combine the two, Liv, you say, remember earlier on how you told me about this when you worked with another agency? Well, that's actually the thing we noticed most agencies fuck up with. So now it's like a double threat. Here's how we solve that so it's never a problem. That right there is huge differentiation.
okay.
But I think, Liv, like we said before, it's like $55 versus $135.
Oh.
I think you're differentiating yourself already because someone is still in conversation with you when you're twice as expensive as the other person.
Yep.
Almost 3 times as expensive, right? So I think don't worry too much about your differentiation. Is there a certain experience recently where you feel like you haven't been able to differentiate yourself?
Yeah, there's been 2 this week, but no, it doesn't happen a lot. It's just 2 this week, and especially this one that I just told you about.
Okay. Well, the other thing I would say, Liv, is you may want to write this down because it's a bit, how do you say? No one really gives this advice. So recognition. So do you know what pattern recognition is?
I guess just recognizing if something happens over and over again.
Yeah,
Like,
it's like this is hardwired into our brains. It's been there for millions of years. And I'll give you an example. It's like if you were in the jungle, right? And someone in your tribe got eaten by a saber-toothed tiger, by like an animal, right? They got eaten and killed and dragged away. You would think, why did that happen to them? And the reason why you would think that is because we have a survival bias and we don't want to die. So you think why, and then you start to come up with reasons. And the reasons are, for example, he made noise, so he attracted attention, and he moved a lot, so he presented a threat. Okay, and then what happens is, as more of your friends start to get eaten, you build these reasons, and then you start to build common links between them. Friend A made a bunch of noise and moved, and also, I don't know, was tall, okay? And friend B made a bunch of noise and moved, but he was small. Well, what's the common pattern? He moved and he made noise. So now what happens is, when I'm in the jungle, I don't move, I don't make noise, okay? That's pattern recognition, and then how you apply it to feed your survival bias. Now, here's why this is important with sales. It's like, if someone has had a bad experience with an agency or 3 different agencies, they're going to be like, well, what was the common denominator? There was a salesperson, right? Salesperson, and this salesperson gave a demo, and this salesperson was very energetic, and this salesperson said words like, let's dive straight into things. Is it okay if I ask you some questions, right? They start to build up a pattern, and then what happens is, you can go on a sales call with them, and even though you're completely different to other salespeople and you're way better, you can start to trigger their survival bias, which says, I've been fucked over by an agency and by a salesperson in the past. And the things that I'm using to pick out that and recognize it are they were high energy, they did a demo of a presentation, and they said words like, let's dive into things, can I ask you some questions? And so what you must do to differentiate yourself immediately is something that no other salesperson would do.
Okay.
And I know that sounds tricky and no one really talks about this. Here's what I would do. I would go on YouTube and I would type in meds. You're still in the med spa niche, right?
Yep.
I would type in med spa sales calls or closing a med spa client live. And I would watch as many of them, but I would just watch the first minute of each when they're doing like, you know, the intro phase where you talk to them and then you transition to the discovery phase. I would watch as many of them as possible and I would write down the common things I see. And so I'll give you an example. If a lot of people are like, yeah, cool. How's your day been? It's like, it's like, how are you? For example, how are you? Don't say that shit. Don't say it because everyone else says it and people have pattern recognition. Okay. Another one is people say, yeah, so let's jump straight into things. That right then, the prospect's mind is, salesman, put up my defenses, pattern recognition. This is a salesman, defenses up. Just because they said a common word, they could be the nicest, best salesman in the world, but the prospect has pattern recognition. So I would avoid, first of all, make a list and just, it's like your list of things to never say. Okay. Second of all, what I like to do is I like to throw something in the moment someone comes on the call or whatever. I like to throw something in that they've never seen ever. Okay. I'll give you an example, right? You know Alex Hormozi, obviously, right? What he used to do in his gyms when he'd sell supplements is every client that walked up, he would do a cartwheel. It seems stupid, it seems crazy, but no one's ever seen that before. So suddenly it's like, they're like, what the hell? This isn't a salesman. This is just a guy doing a cartwheel. It's like, it's pure psychology. It works on the subconscious. It's like, it just breaks the pattern. Okay. What I like to do is, if someone joins the call, I scan to see what things are behind them, and then I just pick out an object and I make a comment about the object.
Okay.
So it's like, you see how there's a painting behind me right here? I would say, if I was on a call with me, I'd say, Lucian, what's the painting? Why are you hiding it? Why is your camera not slightly higher up? Is there a secret on the painting? It seems silly, right? It's a waste of time. It's not on agenda, but it breaks the pattern. It opens people up. It makes them feel like they're speaking to a human being and not a salesman.
Cool.
So that's what I would do there is make sure you don't play into people's pattern recognition. Make sure your pitch illustrates what the rest of the market does wrong. And then as well, make sure your pitch is tailored to people. I always say this to my students. Even if your pitch is not a tailored solution, like even if your product is always the same, just give the illusion that it's tailored to them.
Okay. Yeah, it makes sense. I definitely need to change the beginning of the calls because I do what everyone else does.
Change that.
Yeah. Okay.
Hope that was of value to you, Liv.
It definitely was. Yeah. I'll implement this right away.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think that was pretty much everything that I had. Good question.